Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajak Acharya Ashtotar Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajak Acharya Ashtotar Shata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Hrimseka Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 19, Text 9 through 10. Atri Vashishtash Chaivana Sharadvan Arishtanimir Brigur Angirash Cha Parasharo Gadhi Suto Ta Rama Utatya Indra Pramaded it's a long word. Indra Pramaded Mavaho Atrivashishtash Chaivana Sharadvan Arishta Nemir Brigur Angirashcha Parasharo Gadhi Suto Tarama Utatya Indra Pramaded Mavaho. Two names, Indra Pramada, Didmavahu, Indra Pramad Didmavaho, Atrivashishtash Chaivana Sharadvan, Aristanimir Brigur Angirashcha, Parasharo Gadhi Suto Tarama, Utatya Indra Pramada Demavaho. Atrirvashishtaschayvana sharadvan. Arishtanemir brigur angirascha. Parasharo gadhi sutota rama. Utatya indra pramademavaho. Yeah, we're just reading the four.
Achirvasishtaschavana sharadva Arishtanemir brigurangirascha Parashara gadi suto tarama
Parasharo gadi sutota rama.
Utatya indra pramedid mavaho
Utataya indra pramadidmavaho. 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 Pramadidmavaho.
Achirvasishtaschayvana sharadvan.
Achirvashishtaschanaiva sharadvan.
Aristanemir brigur angirascha.
Aristanemir brigur angirascha.
Parasharo gadi sutota ramo.
Parasharo gadi sutota rama.
Utatya indra pramada idmavaho.
Utatya indra pramadidmavaho.
Atrirvashishtaschavana sharadvan
Atrirvashishtaschayvana sharadvan.
Arishtanemir brigur angirascha
Aristanemir brigur angirascha.
Parasharo gadhi suto tarama
Parasharo gadi sutota rama.
Utatya indra prameda dmavaho
Utatya indra pramadidmavaho.
Atrivashishtaschavana sharadvan
Atrirvashishtaschayvana sharadvan.
Arishtanemir brigurangirascha
Aristanemir brigur angirascha.
Parasharo gadhi sutota rama
Parasharo gadi sutota rama.
Utatya indra pramadid mavaho
Utatya indra pramadidmavaho.
Atirvaishtasjayavasarvadan
Atrirvashishtaschayvana sharadvan.
Arishtanimir brigur amirascha
Aristanemir brigur angirascha.
Parasharo gadishuto tarama
Parasharo gadi sutota rama.
Utatya indra pramandid dhamavo
Utatya indra pramadidmavaho.
Artirvashishtaschavana sharadvan
Atrirvashishtaschayvana sharadvan.
Arishtanemir brigurangirascha
Aristanemir brigur angirascha.
Parasharo gadi sutota rama
Parasharo gadi sutota rama.
Utatya Indra Pramadedmavaho.
Utatya Indra Pramadedmavaho.
Atrirvashishtasyavana Sharadvan
Atrirvashishtaschayvana Sharadvan.
Arishtanemir Brigurangirascha
Arishtanemir Brigur Angirascha.
Parasharogadi Sutotarama
Parasharogadi Sutotarama.
Utatya Indra Pramadedmavaho
Utatya Indra Pramadedmavaho. The synonyms in this book is just one sentence. Is it the same in the others? Okay. Atri to Narada. All names of the different saintly personalities who arrive there from different parts of the universe. Oh, sorry, I'll read the rest of the text also. Medatitir devala arish disheno paradvajo gotama pipalada maitreya orva kavasha kumbhadyonir dvaipayano bhagavan naradascha. Translation. From different parts of the universe there arrived great sages like Atri, Chaivana, Sharadvan, Arishtanemi, Rigu, Vashishta, Parashara, Vishvamritra, Angira, Parashuram, Uttatya, Indrapramada, Idmavahu, Medatiti, Devala, Aristishena, Bharadvaj, Gotama, Pipalada, Maitreya, Urva, Kurvasha, Kumbhayoni, Dvaipayana, and the great personality Narada. Purport. Chaivana, a great sage and one of the sons of Bhrigu Muni. He was born prematurely when his pregnant mother was kidnapped. Chaivana is one of the 6 sons of his father, Bhrigu. When Brahmaji was performing a great sacrifice on behalf of Varuna, Maharshi Bhrigu was born from the sacrificial fire. He was a great sage, and his very dear wife was Puloma. He could travel in space like Durvasa, Narada, and others, and he used to visit all the planets of the universe. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, he tried to stop the battle. Sometimes he instructed Bharadvaj Muni about astronomical evolution, and he is the author of the great Bhrigu Samhita, the great astrological calculation. He explained how air, fire, water, and earth are generated from ether. He explained how the air in the stomach works and regulates the intestines. As a great philosopher, he logically established the eternity of the living entity, Mahabharata. He was also a great anthropologist, and the theory of evolution was long ago explained by him. He was a scientific propounder of the 4 divisions and orders of human society, known as the Varnashram institution. He converted the Kshatriya king Vitahavya into a Brahmana. Vashishta. See Srimad Bhagavatam 196. Parashara. He is the grandson of Vashishta Muni and father of Vyasadeva. He is the son of Maharshi Shakti, and his mother's name was Adrishyati. He was in the womb of his mother when she was only 12 years old, and from within the womb of his mother he learned the Vedas. His father was killed by a demon, Kalma Shapada, and to avenge this, he wanted to annihilate the whole world. He was restrained, however, by his grandfather Vashishta. He then performed a Rakshasa killing yagya, but Maharshi Pulastya restrained him. He begot Vyasadeva, being attracted by Satyavati, who was to become the wife of Maharaj Shantanu. By the blessings of Parashara, Satyavati became fragrant for miles. He was present also during the time of Bhishma's death. He was the spiritual master of Maharaj Janaka and the great devotee of Lord Shiva. He is the author of many Vedic scriptures and sociological directions. Gadhi Sutta, or Vishvamritra, a great sage of austerity and mystic power. He is famous as Gadhi Sutta because his father was Gadhi, a powerful king of the province of Kanyakubja, part of Uttar Pradesh. Although he was a Kshatriya by birth, he became a Brahmana in the very same body by the power of his spiritual achievements. He picked a quarrel with Vashishta Muni when he was a Kshatriya king and performed a great sacrifice in cooperation with Maganga Muni, and thus was able to vanquish the sons of Vashishta. He became a great yogi, and yet he failed to check his senses and was thus obliged to become the father of Shakuntala, the beauty queen of world history. Once, when he was a Kshatriya king, he visited the hermitage of Vashishta Muni, and he was given a royal reception. Vishvamritra wanted from Vashishta a cow named Nandini, and the Muni refused to deliver it. Vishvamritra stole the cow, and thus there was a quarrel between the sage and the king. Vishvamritra was defeated by the spiritual strength of Vashishta, and thus the king decided to become a Brahmana. Before becoming a Brahmana, he underwent severe austerity on the bank of the Kaushika. He was also one who tried to stop the Kurukshetra war. Angira. He is one of the 6 mental sons of Brahma and the father of Brihaspati, the great learned priest of the demigods and the heavenly planets. He was born of the semen of Brahmaji, given to a cinder of fire. Uttatya and Samvarta are his sons. It is said that he is still performing austerity and chanting the holy name of the Lord at a place known as Alokananda on the banks of the Ganges. Parashuram. See Srimad Bhagavatam 196. Uttatya, one of the 3 sons of Maharshi Angira. He was the spiritual master of Maharaj Mandata. He married Bhadra, the daughter of Soma, moon. Varuna kidnapped his wife Bhadra, and to retaliate the offense of the god of water, he drank all the water of the world. Medhatithi, an old sage of yore, an assembly member of the heavenly king Indradev. His son was Kanva Muni, who brought up Shakuntala in the forest. He was promoted to the heavenly planet by strictly following the principles of retired life, Vanaprastha. Devala, a great authority like Narada Muni and Vyasadeva. His good name is on the list of authorities mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita when Arjuna acknowledged Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He met Maharaj Yudhishthir after the battle of Kurukshetra, and he was the elder brother of Domya, the priest of the Pandava family. Like the Kshatriyas, he also allowed his daughter to select her own husband in a Swayamvara meeting. And at that ceremony, all the bachelor sons of the Rishis were invited. According to some, he is not a Sita Devala. Bharadvaj. See Srimad Bhagavatam 196. Gautama, one of the 7 great sages of the universe. Sharadvan Gautama was one of his sons. Persons in the Gautama Gotra dynasty today are either his family descendants or in his disciplic succession. The Brahmanas who profess Gautama Gotra are generally family descendants, and the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas who profess Gautama Gotra are all in the line of his disciplic succession. He was the husband of the famous Ahalya, who turned into stone when Indradev, the king of heaven, molested her. Ahalya was delivered by Lord Ramachandra. Gautama was the grandfather of Kripacharya, one of the heroes of the battle of Kurukshetra. Maitreya, a great Rishi of yore. He was spiritual master of Vidura and the great religious authority. He advised Dhritarashtra to keep good relations with the Pandavas. Duryodhana disagreed and thus was cursed by him. He met Vyasadeva and had religious discourses with him. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishram Shtafitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Kruna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sandubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. From different parts of the universe there arrived great sages like Atri, Chaivana, Shardvan, Arishtanemi, Brigu, Vashishta, Parashara, Vishwamritra, Angira, Parasharam, Uttatya, Indra Pramada, Idmavaho, Midhatiti, Devala, Arishtashena, Bharadvaj, Gotama, Pipalada, Maitreya, Urva, Kavasha, Kumbhayoni, Dvaipayana, and the great personality Narada. Maharaj, would you like to speak on this verse?
The statement that some say in the purport, according to some he is not a Sita Devala. So some say that it's two different personalities. Some say it's one personality. And yeah, it's amazing that all these saintly persons came. They took it as such an important thing, and they came primarily because of Parikshit Maharaj being such a great personality. Certainly they also recognized Shukadev Goswami, but it says earlier that they mainly came because of the greatness of the king, Parikshit. That's how. And it's also significant that several of them tried to stop the war, and they were living in the heavenly planets, Brigu and others. So that means that Earth is important, even though it's a middle planetary system, and they were living on the higher planetary systems. Still, they took it as an important event. And we hear how powerful the personalities were who were participating. For example, it's said that Ugrasena, even Indra took orders from Ugrasena. The reason Ugrasena was so powerful was because he had Krishna behind him, not behind him, but he was protected by Krishna. Krishna wouldn't take the throne after Kamsa was killed. He killed Kamsa, so by all rights he should have taken the throne, Krishna. He could have been the king of the world, and he could have made his headquarters at Dwarka, which was his city. He arranged it. But he did not, because he said, I'm a Yadu. I'm a Yadava. And the Yadavas were cursed by Yati. Yati was a king, and he was out on tour one, I'll just briefly tell the story, and he went to get some water from a well, and he found a beautiful young girl inside, in the well. and naked. That story took place because she and their girlfriends were taking a bath, and they were bathing, and Lord Shiva came by. So in order to show respect to Lord Shiva, they hurriedly got out of the water and covered themselves with their dress. But one of the girls, namely Sharmishta, who was the daughter of a king, she had taken the cloth of this girl, Devayani, who was in the well, who was from a Brahmin. She was the daughter of the priest of the demons, or the Asuras. So she rebuked her girlfriend. How is this? You're a lowly Kshatriya, you're taking the cloth of a superior who is the daughter of a Brahmin? And they had a quarrel, and the girl, Sharmishta, was stronger. She was from a Kshatriya family physically. She picked her up and put the girl in the well, and then left her there. Anyway, back to the situation. So Maharaja Yati came, he saw this girl. Out of politeness, he gave her one of his cloths, upper cloth, and she wrapped herself. Then he extended his hand, pulled her out of the well. She said, now we're married. He said, well, wait a minute. Of course, kings can do that. Kshatriyas can marry a woman who wants to marry them. They have the prerogative and the duty. That happened to Bhima. Bhima was approached by Hidimbi, who was actually a Rakshasa, man-eater. But she fell in love with Bhima and she wanted to marry him. So he had to marry her. Anyway, Yati wanted to know what caste she was from. He didn't mind marrying her. She was beautiful, young, everything. But he was afraid she was from a Brahmin class. And she was, but she didn't want to tell him. She just said, it's already ordained. You have to accept me. So he did, but there were more conditions. The father, when he found out what happened, said, okay, we can accept him. But he made a rule, because the daughter, Devayani, wanted the girl Sharmishta to be her maidservant throughout her life. But she didn't want her to have any sons by the king. She wanted her to suffer not having any children. That was her. But Devayani wanted to get back at her for the misdeed she did to her. So Yati agreed, but he couldn't follow it. And when it was known that Sharmishta was impregnated by Yayati, Shukracharya, Devayani's, you heard of Shukracharya, he came and he said, you rascal, you promised that you wouldn't do this. Now you've done it. I curse you to be an old man inflicted with all the things that old people, shaking and body devastated. So he turned into an old man, right in front of everyone. So Devayani was not very happy because her husband had now become an old man, couldn't enjoy with her anymore. So Shukracharya realized that I cursed this my son-in-law, but now my daughter's not happy. So he said, all right, you can give away your old age if anyone will take it in exchange for their youth. That was the only thing he gave him. So Yayati went to his 4 sons. And Yadu was one of the sons. He declined. And another two sons declined. And so Yayati cursed the three sons that declined. And one of them was Yadu, that no one in your line, no one from your descendants will be able to be the emperor, to be the king. And Krishna comes in that line. Therefore, because of the curse of Yayati, he wouldn't take the throne. He's already the king of the whole cosmic everything. But he wouldn't accept that position. That's why he didn't accept it. But Ugrasena was from a little different aspect of the family, and Krishna wanted him to do it. So my point was that the personalities in the demigods and the higher planets, they were sometimes surpassed in strength or opulence even by those on earth. This Bhrigu Samhita, it said that one who knows how to read the Bhrigu Samhita, he can tell everything. He can explain everything about every person somehow or other. It's such a phenomenal, astronomical description. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. This is really great. We get to hear the best things to hear right at the beginning of the day. It's really nice. So all of these sages are assembling, and it's many of the greatest sages in the universe. And they're assembling to be in the presence of Maharaj Parikshit, who is fasting on the bank of the Yamuna. And we're seeing that it's all of the greatest sages in the universe, but still, and whoever actually chooses to speak, what they speak will be spoken of and heard and glorified forever. We're speaking of it today, and it's going to be continued to be spoken of eternally. They're going to speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we will see, as this chapter is entitled, The Appearance of Shukadev Goswami, that Shukadev Goswami is the one that they choose to explain the Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. And when Shukadev Goswami is wandering through the world, he's naked, he's only about 16 years old, and to the ordinary people, they took him as a fool. They would throw things at him and laugh at him. In fact, when he first appears in this chapter, there's like a group of people, like women and children, like laughing at him, falling behind him, throwing things and making fun of him. So to ordinary people, they thought he was foolish, but we see to those who had the proper understanding and the proper vision, they saw him as the greatest personality, and they set him up on the Vyasasan at Naimisharanya to speak to all, so that all these great sages could hear, and so that the king of the whole world could hear. So this is something that happens when such a great personality and pure devotee is on the earth. People may not recognize who they really are, and this also happens with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he appears, the fools and rascals deride him. So this is why we actually need proper knowledge to see The devotees are seeing with Shastra Chakshus, the eyes of the scriptures. So because these people are all situated in perfect knowledge, they're not covered by illusion, they see that this Shukadeva Goswami is actually the greatest personality. And so similarly, devotees and those whose intelligence is bathed in the Shastra, they can see Krishna and understand him as he is, instead of having some sort of misconception about Krishna. And so that's what we want to do, because one who understands Krishna as he is and understands his appearance and disappearance, that person returns to Krishna at the end of this life. And just one story that stands out a lot in relation to this text, if I could tell it, in a class that Radhanath Swami gave on this text, he had explained how when he had traveled to India, there was some sort of function set up to where all these sages could come out of the forest and their hermitages and everything and speak to the public. And so someone arranged for it, and the person who arranged it was explaining that all of these enlightened souls are here to speak to us so that we can learn to be peaceful and cooperate for the betterment of the world. And hearing from them is the best thing that one can do, because they are enlightened, and one who is enlightened can show us how we can truly cooperate and be peaceful in these things. But then he explained, unfortunately, this meeting that we have booked, we only have the space for an hour, and then the next group will come in. So I am going to ask each of these, they were all gurus, so they were coming and also kind of canvassing for people to join with them. And he was saying, I'm going to ask for each of these great people to speak for only 3 minutes each. So the first person went up and he spoke for 10 minutes. And so that means that the people who are last, 2 of them now missed their chance to speak. And then the next person comes up and he speaks for 20 minutes. And those people who are set up as last, they start arguing and bickering and quarreling between each other. And as each one would speak, the organizer, as it was described, this poor guy, he would say, "Oh, please, Swamiji, only 3 minutes, please wrap it up quickly." And he would try and move them to the next one. And so by the end of it, all of them got into a big fight, and they were grabbing the microphone. And one of them said, "I am Bhagavan. When I speak, no one can put a time limit on it." And then another one comes up and he yells something into the mic, and it became like a whole fight on the stage. So these were the personalities that everyone in the audience was very confused, because they were thinking, we're coming here to hear from these enlightened people and learn how to cooperate and be peaceful in these things, but then this is what happened. And so this is what happens when people who are not pure come into an assembly and try to speak. But here we're seeing actually the most pure personalities, and they're not fighting over who gets to speak or like this, but they're trying to do what is best for all living entities in the whole universe. And so soon they will give Shukadeva Goswami Divyasa-san to speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, I think there were some. Oh, yes.
These sages are all senior to Shukadeva too. Vyasadev's there, Narad's there. So these are all great persons. They're all senior to him. He's junior. And he was hesitant to take the seat, but they all insisted, "No, come to hear you. You please speak." So it doesn't depend on one's age. One can be extremely spiritually advanced, even at a young age.
This is a really nice point that we can see here. that bhakti yoga is not dependent on any material qualification at all. So it may even be, we might be very much enlightened in devotional service by a new bhakta who just got to the temple very recently, or something like this. So it's actually what the real value in someone is their bhakti or devotion, and that's something that's much harder to see than any material thing. But that's what we should really be valuing, and so that's what the sages value here in Shukadev Goswami. Are there any comments or questions? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.